Hey there! And to those who normally watch this video, obviously, yeah, I'm going live right now. It's a bit of a and there we go. Yeah, I'm definitely going live because frankly, um, in case you've missed it, just am I 30 seconds in? Yes, I am 30 seconds in, so I can say fuck private equity, fuck them. Vulturous pieces of shit that are taking over our country and shitifying everything and just in general making all our lives just that much more miserable. Because in case you haven't seen one of these videos before or seen any of my live streams with Gabe, um, my career is going through a bit of a transition because of private equity. And yeah, so that goes with the first topic of this video, and that is the idea of burnout. Um, Obviously, it's a real thing. And that's kind of why I've been doing live streams because, frankly, I haven't had the bandwidth or the capability of doing any kind of video editing. Um, Mainly because I'm so burned out that I go to work, I come home, and I sleep for the most part. Um, because you know I pride myself in finding solutions to problems, particularly in sales and management and all the things that I do, particularly manufacturing. And the last year of hell, if I know, is basically absolutely pointless. So I put myself through all that for fuck all no reason, zero. And yeah, it gets kind of makes you not want to do shit. So that is why live streams. I might edit this later. Who knows? But yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster of last 4.5 months. But fortunately, it seems to be winding down. Um, all that's left is the tears, and yeah. So there's that, which is nice. And good evening, Derek Gordon. But to get to the thrust of it, um, private equity. Let's just start there. Um, in the last year, was doing probably the work of three people and probably two management levels above my pay grade. My counterpart was as well on another division. Many people were, and the thank you that most of us got are was more of the same, just under a new banner and a new company with all the potential that it's all going. We would have to go through it again in like 6 to 8 months as the company was sold again. Um, some really good people lost their jobs. Some people that were doing their best. I wouldn't say that they were great, but they were doing their best to learn. And there were some people that were absolutely one of those people you could put them into any position in any company, and at some point they'd learn how to do it and do it very well. And those people left. And so now we're just about through it. And I could seriously give a fuck. Just go and do the time clock, tell me what to do, and I'll do it, and then I'll just go home. Because that is none of what I usually got in fulfillment from of like coming up with a creative solution, managing chaos, managing people, teaching people. Um, yeah, just I don't care anymore. Just don't. And that's not like me. So eventually have to get back to that. Now, second topic. President Obama went on an interview with Brian Tyler Cohen and 100% confirmed that aliens are real. This is coming from a former president. There was no equivocation on it. There was no wiggling about it. There was no, well, we can't do this and it's a possibility. No, 100% President Obama said that aliens are, in fact, real. Now, you could say that former President Obama, should be maybe more involved in what is going on right now. He's certainly picked his battles and picked his spots. I did watch this interview, and I will say this: it was a very strange one. It was a very odd interview. It was not one of Brian Tyler Cohen's best. I felt it was kind of a sponsored ad for President Obama's foundation, which in and of itself was a little odd. I think they mentioned it like 30 times in not a very long interview. Obama did say there are no secret tunnels that he's aware of underneath the West Coast. Aliens are not being kept. He's never met one. But he did say they are real. And as a former president of the United States, for him to not come out later and clarify it and say it was a joke, or say like, hey, no, I mean, it was just a ridiculous answer to a ridiculous question. He's not backed away from it. He's not there. None of his handlers have come out and said that he was joking. He just gave a flat out, yes, they are real. So, in addition to, so that is one, I guess this has been kind of a month of conspiracy theories being proved real, which, if you're at all familiar with me, like I've had to eat a lot of crow in the last year on some very specific things, some things that I thought I was absolutely right on. I don't feel I was. All right, so let's move away from Obama and just move right into the major topic that is gripping the nation. No, it's not Erica Kirk and Candace Owens and their battle for the heart and soul of right wing women. I guess I don't know. Yeah, I mean, have we gotten to either Team Candace or Team America yet? I think we have. I haven't seen anything pop up on anybody's Facebook profiles, but I don't really get on Facebook that much. Now, that being said, it's definitely, we're not talking about that. The thing that is gripping the nation right now is obviously the Epstein files. And you have a congressman in Massey who feels the need to go online and say that he is not suicidal. He practices excellent gun safety, and that he is a good swimmer. He eats healthy. The brakes on his car are fine. So you have a representative who has to come out and say that. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said the other thing. Nancy Mace, as crazy as she may seem, has not come out and said anything like that yet. But I'm just going to say this about Nancy Mace real quick. This is an aside. I know there's a lot of talk about, her staffers are coming out and saying things about her. There's a lot of things being said about Nancy Mace and how crazy she is, how abusive she is. All I'm going to say about Nancy Mace right now is that she put her name on she broke with the Republican Party. She put her name on the discharge position, and when pressured by the White House, pressured by the FBI, she didn't cave when so many others have. So for whatever her faults, and just like any other human being, there are probably many, when it came time to stand, Nancy Mace stood. And she stood strong. And for that, despite what is coming out about her, which, if you look at it, nasty shit is coming out about all the Republicans that signed that discharge petition. But whatever is said about Nancy Mace, know that in the time of crisis and when it was necessary, she stood, and she stood for all of us. Whatever her faults, when it came time to be counted, Nancy Mace stood. Whatever happens to her from here on out is on Nancy Mace, but in the critical moment, she stood strong. Now, Epstein files, and going back to me having to eat a lot of crow. My wife knows someone from years ago who is the one of the proponents and initial broadcasters of Pizzagate, a journalist by the name of a former journalist, a former gossip journalist, Star Magazine, I believe, or Us Weekly journalist by the name of Liz Crokin. And honestly, for years, Liz Crokin has pushed the Pizzagate and some wild other things. However, it can't be denied that some of the details are wrong. A lot of the details on Pizzagate are wrong. However, when you look in the Epstein files, they 100% refer to underage children in pizza terms as ordering a pizza. They absolutely do. You can see it right in the files. So there is one conspiracy theory that can be proven mostly true. They absolutely did. They ordered these people as if they were pizzas, and they referred to them as pizzas or going out for pizza, or I'd like to have. I think there was one email that talked about an Italian pizza or an Eastern European pizza. Just gross shit. Just gross, nasty, fucking shit to dehumanize people. Awfulness. Flat out awfulness. Then QAnon. I was very much involved in the underpinnings of QAnon, what they did. I find it, and now it is pretty obvious based on the Epstein files and emails that Epstein and I believe Steve Bannon met with the founder of 4chan, and the day after the Paul board was formed, and QAnon swiftly formed after that. I always suspected Bannon was involved in QAnon, just because I remember back during the financial crisis in 2009. What was the thing Bannon started? It wasn't Newsmax. It was anyway, whatever website he founded as conservative news. There was this thing that was kind of like an Obama or an administrative insider that would drop like these snippets of inside information from like Alaska and stuff like that. And it was riveting. It was absolutely riveting. And when QAnon came out, I 100% knew that the test case, or at least the initial attempt to do something like this, was on Bannon's website. 100%. And to know that Epstein potentially had a hand in QAnon, it really hurts my head, because I am a logical person. I love a mystery. I love a good mystery. Sherlock Holmes is my favorite literary character, and it's for sure looking like Epstein was Moriarty. But there was no Sherlock Holmes to save us. And just the sheer brilliance, which I think was kind of a Bannon thing, of turning what they were actually doing into some type of QAnon conspiracy theory that focused that attention towards their opposition, is such a Bannon thing. And it was brilliant and awful. It was a dark brilliance. It was an evil brilliance. And the incalculable damage that this has all done to us is going to be in the history books. And you have literally someone, be it Ghislaine Maxwell, be it Jeffrey Epstein himself, in conjunction with Bannon and others, that have essentially been orchestrating global politics and legislation to the benefit of the wealthy and themselves and the elite for damn near 30 years. 30 years, these people have been playing puppet master with all our lives. It's like the Pink Floyd song, Us and Them. And if you have to ask if you're part of the them, then you're not. Because the them is in the Epstein files. Those are the people. It's not us. So at least between right-wing conspiracies and left-wing conspiracies, we now have one conspiracy, and it's there. It is in the files. And from what Representative Ro and Massey have said, and what has been revealed on the House floor, I think it is quite evident that this is a wide-ranging, global, bipartisan issue. And the other nations and all around the world are way further ahead than us on cleaning up the mess. In Dubai, not known for its left-leaning democratic kind of egalitarian things, you have the Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem has resigned because of his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not even going to repeat the specific email, but he sent a video and was discussing of Epstein. He sent a video to Jeffrey Epstein involving grievous harm to a person. And Epstein said he enjoyed that video very much. Then we have, this is one of the few in the United States, is a high-ranking lawyer in Goldman Sachs. I've read some of Kathy Rumler's emails to Jeffrey Epstein, and they're disgusting. So there's that. And a former Norwegian prime minister has been charged, and others are under investigation for their involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. And in the UK, Peter Mendelsohn, obviously the fallout with Prince Andrew, no longer Prince Andrew Mountbatten, has been kind of a thing that's been ongoing, like a slow-moving tide that's been going on. And Peter Mendelsohn has resigned from the Lords, the UK Labour Party. And it's even tainting the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who is not in the files. And so that's a little, clearly nobody's fucking around over there. So what is, for those who have been living under a rock or just involved in their own lives, which, to be brutally honest, I have for the last 4, 5, 6 months. I went from office politics that were like the Hunger Games with one particularly toxic person who was trying to kind of pit everyone against each other with the support of a very toxic boss executive. And that was fun, to then being, I would say we acquired a company that is then taking over operations and everything else for my company, but that sounds weird, so I'm just going to say we sold. And it's very complicated, but needless to say, we've been transferring operations to another company, and it's been brutal. And most of the people are out of 90% probably 90 employees. Um, Only 10 ish are going to continue in their employment. Um, so that's where the burnout comes from. And I've not been acting normally. I don't think anybody's been acting normally. You go right from Hunger Games to Survivor, essentially, and you know, try to help people out or reach out, try and support. But some people just, when crisis hits, um, people retreat to what they feel best. I certainly did. Not proud of it, but it is what it is. So, why bring up what other countries across the world have been doing with the Epstein files is pretty blunt because those countries have access to the unredacted ones. They haven't released them yet, but for sure the United Kingdom and France have access to the unredacted files, and they are acting on them. The US has fully redacted unnecessary redactions and is not acting on them, and it's due to one person and one person only, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, Pam Bondi, who is the former Attorney General of Florida, of Epstein fame and Palm Beach fame and Mar-a-Lago fame, is 100% in the tank for protecting Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. Hey, I didn't think this. Hey, here we go. I didn't even think this is really going to be like a Donald Trump video. I thought it was going to be like one of the few out there that wasn't going to reference his ass. And here we go. Because you can't talk about Epstein without talking about Donald Trump. And particularly, you can't talk about Pam Bondi's actions without talking about the president, because she is 100% covering for him. And if she has not perjured herself, it's a miracle, because Kash Patel perjured himself. No consequences. Many people have lied, covered up, and obfuscated what is potentially the biggest conspiracy spanning 30 years in United States history, maybe even in world history. And in the United States, are where we are a supposed beacon of equal justice under the law, we have done nothing. As of yet, we have done nothing. And we have the assistant or the deputy attorney general of the United States, Blanche, come out and say, well, there's there's really nothing, no criminal activity or co-conspirators that can be charged in those files. And it is irresponsible for the representatives to reveal those names. Fuck that, and fuck him. I could probably expand on that, but I think that's probably clear enough. Fuck that and fuck him, because he's lying. He is absolutely 100% lying. Les Wexner, Victoria's Secret, is hip deep in this. And now, through the files, it is very evident, very, very evident, that at a minimum, the Mossad was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And that has all sorts of implications that clearly people don't want out. And not only that, but it's just Jeffrey Epstein's origin story has never, since 2019, just never made sense to me. He's not a very bright person. He's becomes a math teacher at one of the most exclusive private schools in the United States, who the headmaster of said school just happens to be William Barr, future Attorney General's dad, who hires Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? Now, somehow, Jeffrey Epstein, who is not that bright, gets involved and gets a shit ton of money, and somehow gets involved with some of the most elite and wealthy people in the world as their financial advisor. How does that happen? I've heard the CIA, I've heard Mossad. I mean, we can see from the files that the Mossad was heavily involved. And now there's GRU or KGB implications. So who was running the strings on Jeffrey Epstein? This not very bright man from New York who somehow I don't think this is a catch me if you can kind of situation. I don't think he's that bright or smart. You can just see how his interviews, his conversations, the videos that are in the Epstein files where he's talking, his emails, the emails themselves. But it's like, how did this happen? Insider information, blackmail operation, sure, all that, 100%. I believe it's all that. The worst thing we could possibly imagine is probably the truth. And that's not often that you can say that, because usually the simplest explanation is the one that's true. In this one, the simplest explanation is that foreign countries were running an operative who got access to the highest level, political, financial levels, and intellectual levels across the world, but particularly in the United States, and generated a massive amount of blackmail material and have been using that for their own ends for over 30 years, which is quite literally the worst case scenario you could possibly imagine for a democratic republic. In general, it explains a lot. How the uniparty, where it seems like both political parties, like Democrats, are a controlled opposition, or the Republicans are a controlled opposition, but nothing ever seems to get done. The will of the people never gets done. Why is that? Because it's not useful for them. Wealth inequality. How did that happen? Well, the elites were using Jeffrey Epstein, blackmailing politicians to make sure that it didn't get addressed. I think that's pretty much a simple explanation, as much as a simple explanation as possible for something that is so complex, yet at its core, very simple. And with some of the things that some of the people in the file have already gotten away with that is public, what could they possibly have been afraid of to be blackmailed with? So I think that as far as the evil and the nasty and the awful that is yet to come out, I think it is going to get very dark. It is going to get very dark indeed. And there's not a whole lot. Again, I think we're at the point where just think of the worst thing you could possibly imagine. Murdering children. Schmurdering children, I should say. Global PDF files, financial crimes, illegal experiments. I think we just got to kind of expect all of it. And to be clear, I think for once, both the left and the right is in agreement that it doesn't matter who is in those files. Justice must be done. And the US is lagging far behind the rest of the world in cleaning up our closet. We haven't even opened up the closet yet. We're still looking at all the stuff that's spilling out of the closet and going, "Ooh, this is bad." And what's coming out of that is bad enough. So what is still in there? What nasty is still in there? It's going to be absolutely awful. It is going to tear sectors of this nation apart. I think long-held beliefs of people and institutions is going to be damaged. And yeah, that's pretty much the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that they go all in on trying to prevent any fallout from coming of the Epstein files. And then we're in a constitutional crisis, the likes of which we've never seen. Now, I saw an interview um, with a journalist that pretty much indicated it's got to fall down to the states. The states are going to have to be the ones that do the heavy lifting on this, because we have someone sitting in the White House that can easily pardon anyone for federal crimes. So it's going to fall in the states. It's going to fall in the states' attorney generals to prosecute these people, because that's the only way we can be assured that something will stick. And I have seen speculation, much speculation, that one of the reasons Trump's cabinet members seem so sycophantically North Koreanish is because that is what was promised to them. Take Howard Lutnick, right? Who has lied about his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. It's been proven that he lied. And what do you promise that guy? A pretty, from 9/11 and whatnot, seemed to be a pretty well respected man, really. Very intelligent, very successful. And yet he joins Trump's cabinet and he turns into a speak and say. I mean, Trump just pulls the string on his back and he just parrots like tariff. No, absolutely not. U.S. companies and the public don't pay tariffs. Other countries do, which he's smart enough. He worked in finance. He knows it doesn't work that way. So what makes a guy like that deliberately lie and say, like, this is the best golden age economy ever? He knows better than that. His kids know better than that. So what causes him to go out there and say this patently ridiculous North Korea-esque type of psychophancy is clearly, well, I mean, I don't say it's clearly, I wouldn't say it's clear, but you can certainly speculate that what he was promised and what he was told is, we will do this, you come on board and do this, and by the way, here's your section of the Epstein files. Because even if there's no further mention of Howard Lutnick in anything on, in any redactions or in any of the files that have not been released yet, you got to admit it shows a distinct lack of character and judgment to take 12, 13-year-old children to a private island that is owned by someone that is a level 3 sex offender in the state of New York. I personally don't have children, but I can guarantee you that if I did, there is not a snowball's chance in fucking hell that I would let them be within 1,000 feet or a mile of a level 3 sex offender that is on the registry and on the list, let alone take them to a private island owned by said person. The fuck not. And you have to question the judgment and the intelligence and the ethics of anyone who would do so. And ultimately, whether someone in the Epstein files, or just tangentially referenced in them as having hung around him post 2008, when he was convicted or took the deal that was offered by Donald Trump's future labor secretary, by the by. With that, then anybody who hung out with him, anyone who sent him psychophantic emails, anyone who accepted his money, anyone who ate at his estates, visited him on his island, you have to question their judgment and their ethics. Because post 2008, it was well known what he was and what he did. So to party on his island, like say Elon Musk, you have to have known about it. And when you see the women there, or you're talking about the wild parties there, you have to know what was involved. Same for Kimball Musk, who up until this point I assumed was the more reasonable, kind of smart one. Guess not. And then Peter Thiel. Oh, Peter Thiel, who, if anyone is a Skeletor to, or a, I got one. I'm trying to think up of a comparison. Give me some time here. If anyone is a Destro to Jeffrey Epstein's Cobra Commander, then it would be Peter Thiel, who has picked up where it left off. And it does certainly seem like Jeffrey Epstein instilled in Peter Thiel a lot of his philosophy of burning down nation states, nihilism, the idea that there should be an elite that runs things. And that is totally on board with Jeffrey Epstein and what he proposed, what he researched, and what he attempted to do. And whether that he was attempting to do that for his lords and masters and foreign intelligence organizations or domestic intelligence organizations, we may never know this. I would hope that we would. I would hope that it would come out. I think there are enough clues in what has already been released that it's safe to say there are at least two. And the blackmail is a thing. And by the by, poor Lindsey Graham. I mean, if that poor ass fucking mook doesn't understand that nobody really cares what his deep dark secret is and everybody already knows it, then maybe that guy could be unblackmailed, because you can absolutely see when they give him a reminder, he looks like a melted candle. Dude, should Lindsey Graham or anyone who knows him happen to see this video, just let your freak flag fly, man. Just let it fly. If that's the only thing they've got on you, then just go for it, dude. Just let it go. Just do it. Nobody cares. Same for Mike Johnson. Although he's more subtle, but I think, it's pretty fucking obvious on that one too. The best we can hope for is prosecutions. The worst is that these people continue to control things. And if this is what they're willing to release publicly, then what is still being held back must include some whoppers of names. And that is, so swinging it back to Obama, that's why I think the Brian Tyler Cohen interview was so flat. Here is a former president. We can all argue on how much he actually accomplished as president, seeing as he had a very hostile Congress that he had to deal with. However, you have this president who is not anywhere in the Epstein files giving an interview in this time of crisis for this country and is not very present in it and talking about his foundation. While I understand that maybe this moment belongs to a younger generation, with someone as much pull and power as former President Obama, then I do think he does owe a duty to this country based on his oath as president to maybe be a little more active in this time of crisis. Because this video, I haven't even touched on ICE and that awfulness there, because it is awful and it's deserving of its own live stream and video. I think the people of Minneapolis have held strong, and I think maybe the tide is turning. I do think when you have the House minority or the Senate minority leader in Chuck Schumer go out and in this time period say anything other than speaking to the crises that are facing this nation, the constitutional overreach that the Trump administration is doing, the authoritarian leanings of ICE, and the suspension of the Constitution that is occurring. And you have the Senate minority leader, the standard bearer for Senate Democrats, give a speech where he essentially says he's always put Israel's interests at the forefront. You fucker. You fucker. You should be out of a job just for saying that. In this time period, in this time of testing, of where people stand and what their morals and beliefs are, for you to come out and say that you've always put Israel first and made sure that Israel is taken care of, then you can fuck off. You can fuck right off. Keep fucking walking until you reach the end of the fucking world, and then keep fucking off. Because clearly you don't have your constituents or this country in mind. If that is something that you even consider saying at this time period, even if it were in private, even if it were speaking to a lobbyist, you tone deaf fucker, that is not meeting the moment. But Chuck Schumer is not known for meeting moments. No, I'm starting to believe that this is a time period and a crisis that is going to fall on a younger generation. That does not bother me in the slightest. And we're all, I hope it doesn't get that far. I don't think it will. It does seem like the tide is turning, even with congressional Republicans. But as my wife likes to point out, even if the Congress reins him in or acts to provide oversight, who's going to enforce it? And how are they going to stop it? And frankly, I didn't have an answer then, and I don't have an answer now. We are, frankly, in uncharted waters, which should scare the shit out of most of us. But we're each doing our level best to survive this time. And if that means we take this brief period, and it will be brief, we have a bit of a breather right now. It'll last maybe 3 to 6 months, and then the crises will occur. The things will heat up as we are headed into midterms. The abuses will get staggering, and we will each have to decide where we stand and what we will do and what our personal values call us to do. Hopefully that's just a vote. And even then, hopefully that's all we have to do. Because frankly, actually, the Republican House majority is down to a 1-seat majority. If there is a single flip, then Republicans lose control of the House. Speaker Mike Johnson can no longer run interference and not bring bills to the floor and refuse to hold votes on things to rein in the excesses of the Trump administration. Will this happen? Who knows? I hope it does. That might be the simplest solution, is for a Massey or Nancy Mace or other to either leave the Republican Party, caucus with Democrats, and declare themselves independents or libertarian or what have you. I mean, it doesn't matter really. It's as long as Mike Johnson is no longer Speaker of the House is the important thing, because then things can happen. Until then, they really can't. So maybe it will. I think we'll probably find out before the end of March. as the push for a special master or a court appointed person to seize control of the Epstein files is going to reach its way into judgment, and then we will see how that rolls. Anyway, I'm coming up on an hour here. I'd like to end by saying um, I will get back to posting more. I will get back to more edited, shorter videos and not necessarily just live streams. But it's been a very rough 4 months, and not necessarily proud of a lot of the things or how I've acted or not acted in some cases, or not reached out or had mistaken assumptions on things. And so I'm just working through that as a person. And it's been in trying to decompress. And frankly, with all the political stuff going on, that's very difficult. So I find myself not even watching the news um, until I feel like I have to do one of these, and I get kind of prep myself up for it. But we are definitely in uncharted waters as a nation, and we can only count on each other and our communities and our neighbors and our family. And certainly, after just the brief listing of names in the Epstein files, you certainly can't count on the people that are controlling our institutions to stand up for us. Hell, to be honest, I know a guy whose father is in the Epstein files. Yeah, try that one on for size. Not in a went to the island kind of capacity, but was a business partner of Jeffrey Epstein. Helped him out with a couple deals on Bethlehem Steel, which is a little sobering because it's not like this is a prominent guy. The father was, but is in his 80s, 90s, possibly older. So it was a little shocking to find that out, for sure. And if we're going 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's quite possible that most of us may know someone that is in those files. And that's not even counting the all the PDF files that are being rounded up everywhere else. And so I will say this: we are clearly headed to a reckoning on this issue in this country, and I hope we fall on the right side, because I don't think I could stand a country that would protect and go the other direction on this. So everybody have a great night or day, as the case may be, whatever time you happen to watch the rerun of this, and stay safe out there, and reach out to each other, see how everybody's doing. Make sure your friends and family are okay, because this is definitely a difficult time, and the Olympics are almost over, so then we won't even have that to distract us. Then it's baseball season, but it's preseason baseball, so there won't be a whole lot of distractions going on. See ya.